Shit. Here, YouTube, this one's for you. Welcome to Beerfield, presented by the Fantasy Sports Network, where sometimes we start the YouTube live stream and other times we don't, so we do an entirely new intro just for you guys, but still don't edit the audio podcast. So there's actually two intros in the audio podcast. I'm your host, Chris Hopper, at Beerfield Hop, as always, joined by at Beerfield Theory, and still not with us, at Ryan Miner _ FFB.
He said he was coming, it's Skeet style, but he's not here yet.
Not the first time somebody's lied to me about that.
Bastard.
Oh,
I was all
man.
prepared too.
I was all prepared. Okay, anyway, where was I? FF Face-Off, all sorts of articles, Dynasty comparisons going on there. All sorts of good content being put out by a lot of good people, a lot of good conversation. And coming up next weekend when Scott Fishbowl drafts kick off, Mental Health Podathon. That'll be on the FF Face-Off podcast, I believe. So make sure you check that out. A lot of people putting in a lot of work on that one. Proceeds from that going to benefit the Hayden Hurst Family Foundation. So make sure you tune in and check that out. On today's show, a lot of what we've been doing. We're going to talk some trades. A little bit of unintentional focus just around maneuvering around a rookie draft and, why that's a good time to execute trades and how to bring some of those together, and really strategizing there, especially if you've inherited a team like an orphan. We're going to talk a bit about some other roster structure type things, talk about keepers, break down the Baker Mayfield trade, and yeah. So it's, I want to say a packed show. It's a show.
I mean, it's a show that's evolved around talking about points that people want to hear about. So it's a show.
Maybe they don't, but they're things we want to talk about. So
yeah, we got people excited about the Baker news. I don't know what. Well, I mean, I'm excited.
Is it you?
Ryan will be excited. Our listeners, more or less, want to hear our thoughts on it, which is a good thing. That's that's why we're here, and that's why you guys don't pay us anything, and we don't earn anything. Good times.
But yeah, before we do that, we got to go ahead and liquor up.
What's fueling Beerfield?
What else feel like this black screen Ryan's got going on is really good for YouTube?
He finally got through.
I told you I'd get in. I don't know. For some reason, it keeps saying my video is not allowed.
What?
I've been messing around for the last 10 minutes.
That's Zoom trying to tell you something.
Here, try now.
Oh, wait, here we go. Wait.
I've heard that before.
I asked you to start the video. Did that not work either?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, I guess you won't get to see Ryan's beautiful face, or its kids if they jump on the show.
All right. That black box that says Ryan on the bottom of the screen, that is Ryan Miner. Ryan, what are you drinking? Oh, wait.
I am drinking. I can actually. What do you mean, wait?
Now it's just a black screen.
Is it trying to get me on?
Maybe. It's just a black screen now. Great radio. What are you drinking?
Oh, man. I am drinking Pacifico's high-end cerveza. It comes in at, I don't know. I just grabbed it because I was like, man, I haven't had a Pacifico in a while. But it's brewed in Mexico and it's an imported beer.
Mexican beer.
Hey, I don't think we've had a Mexican beer on.
No, mostly because I hate them. I don't like Mexican lagers, so
that's fair. All right, I am just cracking open to my Basil Hayden Toasted Barrel.
Modelo.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was gonna do it last week, but wasn't feeling too hot, so cracking it into this while we break down all the fun stuff that we're about to talk about.
All right, and I've got some Noon Whistle. I'm drinking Good Vibrations. Good Vibrations is a sour pastry ale with sweet cherry puree, vanilla, another natural flavoring from their pastry series. So haven't had Noon Whistle on a little bit. They're out of, actually, they're Illinois beer. The next 4 weeks we'll have Illinois beer. They're out of Lamont, Illinois, so Chicago area. This one checks in at 6.5%. So full breakdown of an adjuncted sour beer, which seems to be all the rage the last couple of years. About halfway through the show. All right, we'll just go ahead and start with it. We'll start with the big hitter. The Panthers have acquired Baker Mayfield for a conditional 5th-round pick. There is salary compensation in the deal. I believe the Browns are covering $10 million of it, with the Panthers covering $5 million. He is expected to compete with Sam Darnold for the Panthers starting job. So first off, let's break down the quarterback competition, how we expect that to go, and then what does it mean for the skill players, the DJ Moores, Robbie Andersons, Terrace Marshalls, Christian McCaffreys of the world.
Well, I'm operating under the assumption that Baker Mayfield is the starter. I know Sam Darnold was had for a higher cost, but the Browns were operating with zero leverage. So that 24th, 5th round pick, without knowing what the conditions are to increase it, it's probably going to be minor, as we don't expect. The Panthers are going to kind of be just in this purgatory now, right? They have a good enough team around Baker or around Darnold or around Corral or around Walker that they're probably not going to lose enough games to get a top quarterback, and they're going to keep in this position until the team finally blows up. But I still like Baker for this year in super flex leagues. I don't really care about him in single QBs because he just doesn't have enough upside to him. I wouldn't move anybody up or down at all. McCaffrey's going as the RB2 in most redraft leagues. The offense, in my opinion, should have a little more scoring upside because I believe Baker's that much better than Darnold, but I don't think it's enough to move him up one spot, or I guess stay the same. And depending on where DJ Moore is going, I think he's the only one that could see maybe a round boost, as he should be the most benefit from the move from Darnold to Baker.
Ryan?
I'm just trying to see where DJ Moore is going at right now. So DJ Moore is going at 506. And I think with the news of Baker Mayfield, I'd actually bump him up a round or two even. I'm going to be able to even take a at the end of round 3. I think Baker Mayfield being there is actually a quarterback boost for the whole team in general, where I feel like Sam Darnold and every other quarterback is more like a game manager. And I feel like they have to figure out what to do. Carolina Panthers have to figure out what to do. And they got to get this quarterback down thing, this quarterback controversy down, where it's not just going through these quarterbacks year after year after year. I think this is the year where Baker Mayfield takes that step up and actually becomes their franchise quarterback.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean, I thought I was drinking the Kool-Aid, but this is why Ryan's here.
This is a Baker Mayfield stand account, so you can't see.
I mean, we both are.
I
forgot to put my Baker jersey on. I was planning on to.
Oh, I got one too. I'm gonna change my name real quick.
Jesus. All right, Hopper, your turn.
So looking at some per game stats, because I like to check and make sure that my feelings are right when I think this is actually going to be a closer competition than people think. I'm going to take that stance. Per game stats, they are 19.4 and 19.8 completions per game, slight edge to Baker. Attempt-wise, slight edge to Darnold. Yard-wise, that's really the biggest differentiator in Baker's favor. 1.1 touchdowns per game for Darnold, 1.5 for Baker. Interception rates are about the same. Sack rates are within a half sack of each other. And then rush yards, slight edge to Darnold. So, from a fantasy perspective, I don't know that there's that much of a difference there, just because of the rushing floor that Darnold brings. But overall, I do think that Baker does improve. It's a good NFL move. I wouldn't go, and thankfully I don't think people will go crazy on the DJ Moore thing. I think it's a slight bump, but I'm still not, looking to take him higher than the 4th or the 5th round, just because, especially with CMC healthy, I have some concerns about the touchdown upside that could be there. I love DJ Moore. It's a hell of a talent. He's proven he can produce with bad quarterback play. I just don't know that I like him to take that. I just don't know that a transition from Darnold to Mayfield is enough to take a significant leap, like up a tier from where he was before. From an NFL perspective, I think this is a good move for the Panthers. It gives them the best chance to be successful, even if you just have those two competing against each other. I think that having those options gives them a better chance to be successful in a division that's kind of winnable.
I wouldn't go kind of winnable. I think they'll be
not winnable. Sorry, wild card. I was on the wrong side of the conferences.
I think they'll have a shot to at least be competitive for most of the year. There he is.
Now
we have two of them.
Quite nice.
Can I boot the other one of you and see how that goes?
That might be why.
I have a massive echo.
Yeah, because you have two.
Yeah, because you're in twice.
There you go.
There you go.
Jesus, one of these days. They'll probably compete at least for most of the year. I think they'll definitely compete with the Saints for the number 2 spot in that division. The touchdown upside is there. I think for the offense, that's why I like DJ Moore. That's why I would not be an issue to reach, I guess, in this point a round up and a half, because this is the best quarterback that Moore's played with.
I think it just depends. If you get that Baker Mayfield that was efficient with his touchdown rate, his rookie and his junior year, up in that 5.5% range, then it is a slight bump to Moore, and I agree. You move up to 5th round. I don't think it suddenly puts him up in, Godwin range or anything like that. But when Godwin doesn't have Godwin, Godwin doesn't have a torn ACL.
Let's try it. Yeah. Let's Brian, do you still have his ADP pulled up?
Yeah.
Why don't you go through some of the other players around that range?
Around DJ Moore?
Around DJ Moore. Let's see if there's anything that we like more.
All right, so going before him, Chris Godwin at 412.
It's the ACL thing. I mean, normally I would agree with that, but with the ACL, I think that's high.
I expect him to be more in the 7th and 8th round range when the redraft season actually starts.
Yep.
It's as of today.
Yeah, we know that, but a lot of people are doing.
No, I mean, it's like looking at it last week, it looked almost the same. It didn't really change much. So going before him, Chris Godwin, Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, Michael Pittman Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Waddle.
Pittman's about the only one I'd take before him out of that group.
Yeah.
That I could even make an argument for. I don't even know that I'd for sure do it.
And then going after him is Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, Brandon Cooks, Mike Williams, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Smith, Darnell Mooney. You're starting to go at those dart throw, almost like those almost best ball outside of Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, DJ Moore. Okay, DJ Moore's too low. I take it back. Go higher.
Yeah, he's. Would
you rather have him or Deontay Johnson right now?
Ooh.
Or DK Metcalf even.
I think I like Moore over both.
I think that it's close with Johnson because I think that there's kind of a lot of similarities there as far as, questions around QB play. They're both going to get volume. Maybe some questions around what that touchdown upside is going to look like. Both teams are going to have a running back that plays as a bell cow. I think Moore and Johnson are close. I'd probably rather have Moore just because this is not a Deontay Johnson stan account. I do like DJ Moore. It's a personal preference. Really think they're probably in the same tier.
I think it really just boils down to just less competition, like actual true competition for targets there, because that Claypool will get his. Like maybe Pickens gets involved. Freiermuth will probably command enough to where the entire receiving core will likely, get a slight downgrade down.
There's more water being poured on Pickens, and Claypool's going to get his, but so is McCaffrey, and I would argue that McCaffrey probably ends the season with more targets than what Chase Claypool does.
The way you're looking at it, it's just like exactly what I said. If he's going at 506. The two players you said, DK Metcalf's going at the 311 right now.
DK Metcalf's going too high because people forget that DK Metcalf's quarterbacks are Drew Lock or Geno Smith.
Well, and Jug Machine. Don't forget about that one.
And the Jug Machine. At least he was productive with Geno last year during the short stint that he was in. I don't dislike DK. I do agree it's going a little bit too high, but as we start to see when the redraft season truly starts and more of the mocks happen, we'll get a more of an indication of where these guys are truly going. I don't expect it to be well off from this by any means, but I do expect more to move up around from now, probably through this entire month as we get into August, especially when training camp comes out and we get a clear indication of who the starter is at quarterback.
I do fully expect it'll be Baker. I just think that I think that Darnold has the ability to keep that close, but I fully expect it's going to be Baker.
They're going to give both players a shot. Like I think we all can agree that through training camp and preseason, I don't think anyone should be shocked when you see reports that
some back and
Darnold
forth
and Mayfield are both taking first team reps. I mean,
Yeah, 'cause they got
Darnold knows the offense and he's got some of that built-in chemistry from last year.
and neither player's really earned the ability to be unquestioned at this point.
No.
True that. Yeah, I will agree with that one. We had to look at it too. Like they picked up Darnold's 5th year, so they're paying him top dollar, and then Mayfield, Cleveland 8, 11 of it, 10 of it,
Cleveland 8-10 of it with Carolina picking 5.
and then Baker just threw a toss the other 3.5 away. Just basically.
I thought I saw that they're paying him 10 and yeah. Never mind. I have Sports Track pulled up.
It's like 10, 10.5, 5, and then the other one's paying 5, and then Baker just negotiated 3.5 off. Just said, "Don't worry about it. I just want out."
Smart.
So I mean, basically what that means is that you're Carolina, you're paying 20 some odd million for a quarterback, which is still not, that's cheaper than if you had to go out and pay a guy on the free agent market, and maybe you get one usable quarterback out of both. And can you just meld them together into a Mitch Trubisky?
Did you see how?
Oh, come on. Don't disrespect Baker that way.
Did you see how much the Browns are paying just in quarterbacks this year, which is also just known as Jacoby Brissett and Joshua Dobbs? I think it's $53 million this year.
If it's this year, we know that Watson's getting $1 million until they get kicked off the books because he's going to get suspended for the year.
One other note on the DJ Moore thing versus DK Metcalf. I will just say that I think that I might even like Moore's upside a bit more than DK's this year, just given the teams around them. And I think that would be the argument for DK is that I don't think you can argue that DK's floor is as safe as DJ Moore's or even as safe as Deontay Johnson's. The upside's
I would
higher.
agree with that.
The upside's higher than Johnson. I don't know if the upside's higher than Moore. I think they're very similar. So
I see that's the thing. Like, I don't even know if his upside is as high as both of them. Like, that offense is going to be so fucking bad this year. They're going to want to run. They're going to want to run the football. They'll probably lead the league in 3 and outs. Like, it's going to like.
Run.
We might see like. Do you guys remember Hopkins with Brock Osweiler?
yeah,
Oh my God,
That might be that might be how bad it gets. Like, there is a very realistic shot that team is so fucking bad, that offense is so fucking bad that it doesn't matter how good you are, you're just not producing this year. And that's why I'm avoiding all Seattle players. Is again, I still like Metcalf. I love him in Dynasty because he'll obviously improve on it. They should improve the quarterback position after this year, but
I'd rather take DJ Moore in the 3rd than Metcalf in the 3rd. If they flip flop, I feel more comfortable with that because knowing that DJ's more upside is there based on the slight possible quarterback upgrade. But then you still have DK Metcalf who has that boom bust who I'd rather take in the 5th, middle of the 5th round if he's there.
at the
end of the 3rd.
I think that's
I'm with
where he'll
you.
end up landing on too. So yeah.
I'm with you. All right, and it doesn't change anything to McCaffrey. They're still going to scheme him the exact same way. I don't think this moves him at all. I think it's a bigger impact potentially to DJ Moore's upside without changing the floor. Is the best way to sum that up.
That I agree. I don't think anybody else has any real are we drafting Robbie Anderson now?
No, we're not drafting Robbie Anderson now. He might retire again.
Exactly. It's just DJ Moore CMC.
And I saw a tweet that the Terrace Marshall buy low window's closed. No, it hasn't.
What?
Dude,
it's so low.
Nobody's out of here singing for Terrace Marshall. Remember, Baker hasn't supported a wide receiver ever. So,
And it's still one of the more dysfunctional offenses in the league. It's not like Matt Rule has done a whole lot with this offense.
The offensive coordinator is fucking Ben McAdoo.
Oh, do you guys see that tweet about? So someone tweeted out McAdoo's QB rankings in 2018, and he had Baker ranked 6. And now he gets he did have Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson 1 and 2, which is
God,
I guess okay. But then he had Baker Mayfield behind Mason Rudolph and Josh Rosen. So, oh man, it's gonna be great.
Man. Hey, speaking of Deontay Johnson, the Athletics' Matt Cobley doesn't expect that the Steelers will pay Johnson anything close to McLaurin money or anyone else that got $20+ million. I have two schools
with their narrative.
I have two schools of thought on this. If you're paying for the production, and with where the wide receiver market was set at this year, yeah, Deontay Johnson would probably get $20 million. If you're paying for what you should be paying for before this year, I would say, yeah, you're right. He doesn't get $20 million. But then again, neither would Christian Kirk. Neither should have Terry McLaurin. But here we are. And I think that Johnson, if the Steelers aren't going to pay that, probably will find that somewhere in the McLaurin range.
I think somebody will pay Deontay. The Bears are going to have an obscene amount of cap space next year.
Yeah, they are.
And I won't say that they're going to overpay, but they're going to shell out some dough and get some of these. Like, I haven't obviously gone through to see what the potential wide receiver market's going to look like, but Metcalf will potentially be there. He hasn't gotten re-signed yet. We just talked about Deontay Johnson too. There might be Deebo Samuel. Hasn't been re-signed. I mean, I assume he'll get franchise tag, but
yeah. So I don't know. I think that if the Steelers don't pay it, that means Deontay's on another team, because I think he does get this where the wide receiver market's been set at.
Yeah.
ESPN offseason standouts. Just if there's anybody we need to talk about here, Jalen Guyton of the Chargers, Daniel Bellinger of the Giants, Trinity Benson from the Tigers. Good Lord, the Lions.
No.
Could be the Tigers. I wouldn't know any better. Tutu Atwell of the Rams, and Paris Campbell of the Colts. I'll go ahead and take Bellinger because I know that the other guys are going to be probably Campbell and Guyton. The only thing with Bellinger is that he's a tight end, and tight ends are a freaking mess. And with NASCAR hurt for training camp, if Bellinger really is standing out, he could draw starts as a rookie for the Giants. Does that amount to anything? Yeah, probably not for redraft. It means it's a name to know for Dynasty, especially if he sees the field early and gets the chance to use some of that.
God, tight end room is woefully bad. Jesus Christ.
Pretty athletic. Checks in at 6'5", 250, so he's got good size. 4'6", 340. 88th percentile speed score, 82nd percentile burst score. So, I mean, he profiles as somebody that could absolutely develop into a pass catcher, even though he was pretty, misused in college and didn't really have that a la George Kittle. So, something to keep an eye on. The upside's definitely there.
Best comparable, Foster Monroe. We are a Foster Monroe fan account, so.
I just came out with the article on faceoff.com about the rookie tight ends versus sophomores, and I have Hunter or Bellinger in my tier 4 with Greg Dulcich, Jelani Woods, John Bates, and Hunter Long right now. And I did say right now Bellinger's odds are the best of this group, as he only has Ricky Seals-Jones and Jordan Akins ahead of him.
Yeah. Doesn't Jelani
Jordan
Woods
Akins is there?
Yeah, he's there also.
Isn't Jelani Woods just kind of competing with Mo Alley Cox?
Yeah, but Jelani Woods, like, if you watch him, he's just so raw. Like, he had his tape looks good and stuff, but the raw ability, like, the transition from the college to pros.
It's difficult for every rookie tight end, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, people think, like, oh, he did this in college. Why is he
so what was the scope of your article? Was it long-term or was it redraft focused?
It's kind of like right now, like, if you were to draft him right now, basically that way, and then kind of, like, try to also do it in Dynasty at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because Woods is definitely a slow play, I think, who again, has a ton of upside, but checks in raw. So I think Woods is a slow play. Most tight ends are a slow play. You don't draft tight ends for year one productivity.
And in your rookie draft, you're not taking them in no earlier than the third round anyways.
No,
that's
you're
like the
not.
late third round.
You're not even drafting Dallin Bellinger like you shouldn't. Just pick him off the waivers in your free agent pool.
Yeah.
Or wait till the person that does fucking draft him to drop him, because he's still a raw tight end, a raw-ish tight end that didn't really produce in college, so very athletic.
Yeah.
On a team that's about to get a new quarterback next year.
Woods and Kate Otten are the two that are, and Dolchik, some places are the guys that you see going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Kate Otten in tier 3.
Yeah.
With Trey McBride right now.
Well, he's got a pretty clear path, unless you believe in Cameron Brate, which I do.
Yeah, I still believe in Cameron Brate.
I believe in Gronk coming back.
I mean, I just think the hypocrisy. I mean, Jelani Woods is one injury away.
That is very true.
I'm playing inline tight end and never seen a target.
Yeah, but it's Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
He'll see
exactly.
targets. It's Matt Ryan.
I know he will. I know.
Paris Campbell, we talked about last week. Go listen to last week's episode if you want to hear us talk about Paris Campbell a lot. We're all believers in the ability. It just depends on the ability to stay healthy. Aaron Rodgers is excited about Allen Lazard having the chance to be Green Bay's wide receiver 1. Should we be, and how high should Allen Lazard go, particularly in redraft?
I mean, he's got upside, right? There's no one else there to catch passes. And I'm not saying that like he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver in target share. He's had 3 years to build a chemistry with Rodgers, and we know notoriously it takes long for these younger receivers to finally gain the trust with him. What concerns me is the offense as a whole, and the fact that Rodgers and this Green Bay offense is one of the slower paced plays. They have, one of the best defenses in football. They're going to lean, I think, even harder on the running game. And if they make Rodgers more into a game manager, that's just putting less targets out there. What's his ADP, Ryan, right now?
11-8 right now. So
see, that's fine. Like,
yeah, I take him in the 11th round all day long.
Yeah.
I think he'll end up as probably a 9th round pick when it's all said and done, and I still think that's fine.
I'm still okay with that. He's proven he can be productive in spurts. There's nothing that says that, he's going to be this elite tier talent other than the fact that he's playing with Aaron Rodgers, and all the QB ratings when targeted, QB ratings, target separation, all that jazz is good. Contested catch rate's respectable, as it should be for a guy that's 6'3". But, relatively reliable hands. Doesn't do anything super special. He's just kind of a reliable guy. He definitely profiles better as a 2 than he does as a 1. Yeah. That's where you could see Christian Watson and his athleticism emerge if he can end up any type of polished. But, your floor is what Jacoby Myers was last year with New England. So
yeah, I can see that. I mean, a little more upside, as you said.
Upside, floor.
Floor, yeah.
Because there's got to be more touchdown upside there from a guy that's 6'3", 225 on an offense that's going to score more touchdowns and, some more.
Rodgers is going to need somebody.
And Jesus, he had 8 touchdowns on just 60 targets last year. So he's a candidate to elevate that to double digits.
I agree. And he's not going to cost like anything. Like if he was going in Gabe Davis's range,
yeah,
different conversation. But he's going where Gabe Davis should.
Actually, that's a real good call out because, I mean, the outlook for Lazard is a 1 and Gabe Davis is a 2A, 2B is probably pretty damn similar between the two.
Yeah. And I fully expect Lazard is, I mean, it's kind of the same conversation we had last week about Juju and Bateman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems similar conversation. You have a number 2 receiver who should be number 2 on a high-powered offense, or you have a number 1 receiver who should be the number 1 receiver coming into this year on a lower volume offense.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like it.
Yep, they're pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And if you're getting him anywhere near the double digit rounds, then, or either of them anywhere near the double digit rounds, you're happy with it. You're more likely to get Lazard there, though.
You're not getting Davis there. He's just, the hype's gone. Just.
Where's he at right now, Ryan? Gabe Davis?
He's at 802.
Yeah, I fully expect that.
Give me
I
Lazard
think
2
in
rounds
best ball,
later.
I'm pretty sure in best ball he's going in. I think people have posted him going into third round and fourth round, which is just insane to me.
And going right after him is Tyler Lockett, Cordell Patterson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Rashad Bateman, Juju Smith-Schuster. I'd actually rather have Bateman
I would
before
have
Davis and St. Brown.
Yeah. I can stomach Gabe Davis in the 8th round because you're probably not drafting him to be a top 3 receiver on your team. At that point, you're just drafting for some upside. You can nullify the risk without having to play him, but then you have to try to pick and choose the weeks to play him. And Davis has been all over the place when he gets targets. So who knows?
Or you're going to hold out to the 10th round at the beginning of the 10th, like 10-6, 10-7, and get Russell Gage and Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk, I'm on board with. Russell Gage will be great for the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's see. George Pickens isn't going to be asked to do much as a rookie. Second straight week, we've seen reports about Pickens just kind of, going to be eased into this. And it's just a reminder that, guys like Pickens, you're holding on to for a year 2, a year 3 type of breakout, and you just want to see some flashes of good things in year 1. I mean, 2 of the guys we just talked about, Alan Lazard and Gabe Davis, were not year 1 hits. Alan Lazard was on 4 teams, I think, across his first year. So, it's not a death sentence to not hit in year 1. And I think that this throws more water on Pickens, at least, Claypool last year, his deal. I think Johnson.
No, he's got 2 years on his deal.
Claypool's got 2. Johnson's in the last year of his deal, and they've already said they're not paying him. You're looking at Pickens as a 2-year project, not a 1-year project.
Yeah,
he's Godwin. He's like, his ceiling is Godwin's arc, right?
Yeah,
he was productive when called upon in his first 2 years, but he had to ride the bench because they, I guess, liked Adam Humphries and Deshaun Jackson more.
Yep.
And then once Godwin got a shot, and we know that Pickens is a very talented receiver, extremely talented. It's just, as you said, they got to ease him in. And Pittsburgh's track record of receivers are great. And if we're already starting to see the seeds moving of leaving Johnson and Claypool behind, this is like, you want news like this in Dynasty, just you can get a little bit cheaper discount on Pickens.
And when he doesn't produce year 1, you're going to get an even deeper discount.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't completely face plan, as long as he can be productive when he gets his shots.
Yeah, just don't pull a Terrace Marshall.
Or a Jalen Reagor.
Or Jalen
Reagor. That hurts to say. It's okay, though. You can't win them all.
The Athletics' Joe Biscaglia expects James Cook to operate as the Bills' 3rd down back and to see snaps at wide receiver. Stated a trade for Zach Moss shouldn't be ruled out. I guess somebody's got a bag of potato chips lying around. And that the coaching staff is firmly behind Devin Singletary. So, gun to your head, what Bills back are you planting your flag on in redraft?
Devin Singletary.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Devin Singletary is the right answer. I think a lot of people are going to want to buy into James Cook being Dalvin Cook's brother and some of what he showed on film with Georgia. I think them coming out and saying that he probably has a role as a 3rd down back is a good thing, because that means he will see the field and he is going to see receiving work. Devin Singletary put up some good games at the end of last year. He helped to stabilize everything. He's going to get the first crack at this job.
I mean, it's going to be his job. It's just, obviously, he won't have the target upside if they clearly wanted a pass catching back in this offense, right? They tried to sign McKissick. He pulls a Frank Gore, backs out, and then McKissick goes back to Washington. They go out and they draft James Cook to fill in this exact position. I think the wide receiver snap thing is just going to be fool's gold, though. Like, as Hopper, as you like to say, it doesn't matter how many snaps he gets. If he's not getting any production with it, it doesn't fucking matter. So.
Yeah, and this is a team that's not short on people that can play the slot. They draft They drafted Khalil Shakir and signed Jamison Crowder.
And they have Isaiah McKenzie.
And they have Isaiah McKenzie. So you got 3 guys that can be dynamic out of the slot. So you might get some third down work out of James Cook. But, until that clears up a little bit, you're not gonna get anything super high there, or until, if he starts to, show the hot hand and cuts into more of a 50-50 approach with Singletary, then you probably got some flex value there.
Yeah.
That's the most you can hope for.
Mm-hmm.
So, Singletary's the guy. The Athletics' Jeff Zreback states it's highly unlikely that J.K. Dobbins plays in the preseason. So my question here is, are you concerned, is this a safety measure from the Ravens to hold him out, or is, he not quite right from the ACL? We saw a similar thing with Tariq Cohen, who tore his ACL early on in a game and still hasn't come back.
Well,
the most Dobbins was doing was catching off of a jugs machine.
It's also not just Dobbins. I believe Edwards and Hill were also, like, there was no clear cut if either 3 of them are going to play in the preseason, especially training camp. So I think safety concerns is probably the best decision, which means you could see a lot of Tyler Batty in training camp and in preseason, which could help carve out his role behind.
Which I love.
Yep. Which he'll carve out his role behind Dobbins and Edwards. Like I've been saying, I don't think he'll make the team. I think he'll end up getting cut. This should be the smart play. There's no he knows this playbook. He's been productive in it. You don't need to rush him back. But we'll need more. We'll need to see more updates as we get further into this offseason.
I need more clarity on it, but just because we're basically going off what we saw at the end of 2020 and then the preseason of last year before he got knocked out in week 4 of the preseason where he tore his ACL in.
Yeah,
and we're still living on that. We're living on that hype, and
I agree.
Going at 307 to me, I can't pull the trigger on that. That's just way too high. Because we're trying to go back off that.
Is he higher than
what he was?
Is he higher than Swift and Monty?
He won't be higher than Swift. Swift is, I think, high second. Monty might be right around that range, though.
No, Monty's going before him.
Okay.
Zeke's going before him. After him is Gibson, Elijah Mitchell, James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Cam Akers, Travis Etienne.
Probably Mitchell, at least up there. You can make an argument for Mitchell ahead of him. Otherwise, I think that's about right. Etienne's a rookie that is coming off of an Achilles tear. The other guys are, just kind of mixed into who knows roles. James Conner is not the model of health, and they just put Keontae Ingram behind him.
And Damian Williams.
And Damian Williams, yep. So, the way to keep James Conner productive is to limit his touches. So it's the right grouping of people. I think I would take Conner over him. I just like that. I just like the offense a little bit more for running backs. You can make that argument too. And
yeah,
Mitchell, you could make the same argument after last year that not a model of health. So I think it's the right area to have him in. You're not necessarily drafting it upside in that grouping. I just think that grouping is, in general, is probably not going to feel great, which is why you probably draft wide receivers in that range.
It sounds like an avoid to me. Just this will be of a high third, I guess.
I like the Tyler Beatty point, though, too, where if they do hold out the guys they project to be top 3, Beatty produces and gets himself into that rotation, they're going to ease those guys back into game action as the season goes on. And, it's bad for fantasy. It's good for the Ravens because they have enough guys to where they can probably realistically do that and not have it be a problem.
Yep.
But it's bad for it's bad to start the season in fantasy. So you could be looking at some of these Ravens backs is, second half breakouts or probably before second half, but it could take them 4 or 5 weeks to get going before there's any clarity there.
I agree.
All right, we'll hit a beer review, then we're going to go around the internet. Or is it too early for a beer review?
You want to talk about any of the early Scott Fishbowl? You guys have any questions?
I know you told me that 20 quarterbacks went first round, so it sounds like pretty much what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
Any surprises?
I fully expect. For mine, not necessarily. Tom Brady went first round, I guess, if you want to call that a surprise.
Well, not player surprises, more so strategy surprises. Anything that would be a curveball from the last couple of years.
So this, at least through the sleeper drafts, I'm assuming with MFL it'll be the same. You have to play a kicker. That's something that has been moved. That's because sleeper can't allow kickers in the flex position. But I think tight ends are going to go a little bit earlier or later now. I think the worlds of Kelsey going top 5, top 3, like we saw last year, is probably gone. Of the 3 divisions that drafted last Saturday, he went in the second twice, and then in that third division, he was at the turn. The guy went Kelsey Andrew, so he had his own specific strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I think you're going to see a lot of QBs go early. Like, I think you're going to see 7+, easily 7+, if not 8. We had 10 go in the first round.
It's not surprising.
So it's you're going to have to grab them early, but it's also going to help push down some of the other positional playmakers. I think having a later pick this year plus a third round reversal, you're going to see some really strong starting teams because of this. Guys like Cook, Eckler, Cup, and Jefferson, Diggs, Lamb. Those guys are going to be pushed into the second and third round, maybe even fourth round for some of them. So,
how'd your team turn out?
I like it.
What was your strategy going in?
So, as we talked about, I think it was a couple weeks ago when we talked strategy, I wanted to get 2 quarterbacks by the 4th round. Ideally, I wanted to get them by the 3rd round, but because of how they were going, it was just I had to wait and take some of the guys that dropped. So I took Murray 105. I followed that up with Cook and Lamb. 3 guys that can easily be the top of their position group at the end of the year. And then I went Trevor Lawrence in the 4th round because he was the 21st QB off the board, I believe.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think so that helps because I think the way that I play that is if somebody falls, I'm going to take my shot on maybe one of the guys that falls and then have to pull the trigger on that second quarterback regardless.
Yeah. So
in that area, if that's how it goes, it could be 20s might be a little heavy. You might be able to sneak into the 4th round, so play it by ear a little bit. But, it also depends on where you're at with that 3rd round reversal, too.
I think mine went a little heavier on the QB. I think it'll get a little more
light
pushed down because we only had 2 players. We had 2 non-QBs go in the first round. We had no receivers go. It was both McCaffrey and JT first round. I think when I looked at the other boards, it was a little different. Cup went first round. Jefferson went first round and won. So you'll see some, based on strategies of your other league mates, you'll see some shit get played out differently. I think mine was just more of the heavy QB division.
Yeah, that helps because that tells me that I'm going to plan on still 2 QBs in the first 3. But if it's QB heavy up front, then round 2 I'm going to be looking for a top tier running back or wide receiver probably running back that is maybe fallen. And
though I will say this,
try to kick off a run.
I got Mac Jones in the 9th round.
Atta boy. That's actually right there makes the Lawrence pick in the 4th with that upside incredibly good. Because
I love my QB so much. I'm not gonna lie.
Mac Jones and Scott Fishbowl is better than he is in regular fantasy leagues because of the high completion percentage, low turnover.
Yep. And there's less negatives this year. There's no negatives to kickers, which is huge. So I missed my boy Tucker by 1 round, but it's okay.
Trade for him.
Okay, it's okay. Drop him. I'll give you Daniel Carlson and a beer.
Oh man. Okay, now I'll hit a beer review.
Yeah.
And then we can go talk some fun things. Ryan, we got some things we need your opinion on. Dan and I did some wheeling and dealing after this beer review.
Fun last couple days.
We had a fun last weekend, yeah.
I'm glad to be part of it.
Beer review.
All right. I'll go ahead and start. So I was drinking Good Vibrations from Noon Whistle. It is a sour ale, sweet cherry puree, vanilla, artificial flavors. natural and artificial flavors. Sorry, checks in at 6.5%. And hold on, thought I was gonna sneeze. There it is.
Great. It is great radio.
If you're on
Our
YouTube, you
listeners are
saw
like,
it.
look at that. Look
If you're
at
on
that.
YouTube, you saw it. If you're on the podcast, you just heard it. Anyway, overall for sour, this one's actually not aggressive. I think the sour actually serves more to balance out the sweetness a bit. It gives just a mild tartness, which really accentuates the cherry notes, like you would get out of a cherry pie. I don't drink this and think immediately I'm going to have heartburn, which is the problem with some sour beers, especially if I try to drink a 16-ounce can of them. They don't sit well with me. They're normally kind of an avoid, but this one, really like a lot of the heavier fruited beers, the sour just kind of gives it a little bit of tartness like you'd expect from that fruit. Helps balance out the sweetness from being there so much. Lactose gives it really good body. It does kind of taste like cherry pie filling. I will give it that. It's not as overly sweet as it would be if I was just eating a can of cherry pie filling. But, it does... I get those vibes off of it. It does have the cherry sweetness, a little bit of tartness, a good body to it that makes it kind of cling a little bit, kind of like the, cherry pie filling would be a little bit syrupy. And it's good enough to where even though I don't necessarily taste the flakiness of the pie crust, I can imagine it being there. So, as far as pastry sours go, a lot of beer purists scoff at them. Some of them are done really well, and I would say that Noon Whistle did this one really well, more known for hazy IPAs, but they kind of hit this one out of the park.
Ryan?
Since I'm good at talking over the everything, I had Pacifico. It comes in at 4.5%, and it's a Mexican lager, and it's just like another Mexican lager. It's nice, it's crisp, it's a good summer beer. It's kind of like a Corona Modelo type beer, just typical Mexican lager. Nothing really to explain on it.
Light, and light. You can crush a lot of them.
Dan?
All right. I, again, am drinking Basil Hayden's Toasted Barrel. I'm going to go ahead and give it a sniff, and then we'll break down the process. So on the nose, you get a little light alcohol in it, but you're going to get a lot of the cherry, some cherry wood. I get feints of vanilla. I don't get really much of the true toastedness to it, but I get a lot of what the wood that was probably used, or at least what the barrel was aged in. So there's a lot of cherry and some little more of those darker fruits to it.
Drinking, still going, and go. Are you done?
On the mouthfeel, little light. I don't get there's not a lot of heat to it. I know it's a bit of a lighter proof compared to other toasted barrels, but you get more of the vanilla and some of the toffee and chocolate that come out to it on the mouth and on the back as you swallow. And then you get, feints of the cherry and some of the other darker fruits that we're being, partake from the barrel through it. Overall, it's not my favorite, but it's definitely not a bad sipper. We'll see how it opens up as I continue to drink the bottle.
Well, we will indeed. One of the more polarizing bottles that I've seen. So, thank you very much to people for letting us buy your alcohol around the internet. So we're going to go around the internet a little bit. Some of this is us. Some of this is things that we just saw posted somewhere. We'll warm it up a little bit with the trade talk. This is not a trade that Dan or I made. We will get to that. This one was, so there's no stated league format, by the way, if you're posting for trade advice or how did I do in a trade or whatever that case may be, my advice to you is just in your initial post, include the league format because it matters. So no league format here, so I'm going to assume it's single quarterback. It's Kyler Murray and Cooper Kupp for Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney, and Derrick Henry.
Wow, that's bad.
Yeah, it's also so hard to look at these teams though, because you have to see the team and not just the trade of the players.
I don't need to see the team.
I don't need
to know anything about this league. That trade fucking sucks.
Yep,
It's a bad trade.
Hold on, I think we share the same sentiment, but not a guarantee. Do we share it for the same reason?
Oh God, don't tell me we're on different sides of this.
I don't think we are,
No, I don't think we are.
I'm not playing the homer side. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Okay, good. All right, cool. I was going to say, I'm on the Murray and Cup side.
Yeah, easily.
Heavily on the Murray and Cup side.
Yeah, easily.
Fields has yet to establish himself. Derrick Henry's, I think he's 30 plus now.
29?
29, about to be 30 plus. Big-bodied running back coming off of a foot injury, and Mooney's been fine, but he still projects as more of a 2 on a bad offense. Cooper Kupp's on a great offense, and Kyler Murray is a top 5 dynasty quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you hit that out of the park. Like, it wouldn't matter
Pretty
what
simple.
doesn't matter what the format is. Doesn't matter what the scoring setting is. Unless you're getting plus points for being named Derrick Henry. Like,
right.
this deal it makes no sense to me, right? Derrick Henry, 28.5. So I apologize. He'll be 29 at some point this season. You hit it on the field. We have no clue about Justin Fields yet. Mooney will be a target hog this year. Then what after that when they bring guys into free agency and draft wide receivers. Kupp will have his hyper production for at least a couple more seasons, and the way he plays receiver will age gracefully. And we've seen Murray produce at a high end DQB1 rate. So again, I don't know what went through this person's head to trade away Murray and Kupp for this, but Godspeed.
All right, you convinced me on the drunken trade.
It's you, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's you.
Sorry.
You made this deal, you bastard.
I asked the question.
Was this you? No.
I hope not.
I didn't think it was. I didn't think it. I think
Wait,
I would have
did you-
remembered if it was. I almost put an Aaron Schill article in here to talk about, and then I didn't. And I probably should have. It probably would have been good promotion, but
It's still can. We still got time.
I'm not going to go back and look it up. Let's be real. I spent my 45 minutes putting this together. We're good. All right, cool.
No, next week.
Next week, maybe. Manager has both Chase and Higgins. This is kind of a strategy question more so than anything. Does it make sense to hold on both with his other wide receivers being Lamb, Godwin, and Juju Smith-Schuster? So, I mean, first and foremost, my biggest takeaway here is ignore the team, especially in Dynasty. It doesn't matter if you have the top 2 wide receivers on the same team or not. You have to rate your players as individual, players. That being said, you do have a little bit of a glut of riches here. You're not, Godwin and Juju right now I think are definite holds, but mid-season I would probably be looking to move a Higgins, a Lamb, or a Juju potentially if it were me, because you have a glut of riches here. And to me, without seeing the rest of your roster, what that tells me is that you probably have some deficiencies that you can fill from your wide receiver core. You're not going to start all 4 of Chase, Higgins, Lamb, and Godwin, so move one of them and fill out that roster a little bit more. Whichever one you want to move most. I'm not saying it has to be Higgins just because you have Chase. So I think my 2 points here are, one, the uniform doesn't matter because they could just as easily not be in the same uniform by the time their fantasy usefulness is lapsed, especially for wide receivers. But my other point is that when you're that deep in a position, use it to fill out other positions.
Ryan, what's your thought?
I totally agree with Hopper on that one. You have that load of wide receivers. Why hold on to them if you're weak at tight end or weak at running back or even weak at a quarterback? You can just get, you could trade Higgins if you wanted to. Like you said, if you don't want 2 players on the same team, you can get a running back plus a pick or something out of the deal to try to get that, fill in that hole. And then plus you have something there for next year ready to go too at the same time if you wanted to. There's many ways you can look at it.
I will. I'm sorry. Do you got more to say, Ryan? Sorry.
No.
All right.
Go ahead.
first off, this is when it's a good idea, a good chance to let people know what your roster setting is, especially what your complete roster setting is. Because if he has to start 3 and has a couple flex, I think you're in a pretty good position to keep all 5 of these guys because they all have insane upside, obviously more than others. If you have to move somebody, I agree you want to wait till midseason to see what happened with Godwin and Juju. You want to ideally try to keep both Chase, Higgins, and Lamb, right? You want to keep 2 top 5, top 3 potentially, dynasty receivers in Chase and Lamb, and Higgins will be top 10 until he moves.
Godwin could very well be up there too if he comes back fine. I don't think the ACL changes that. You got quarterback questions though too.
Potentially, I think with his age, him getting older right now, and then obviously with the unknown at Brady and what's behind Brady is what's going to keep Godwin from being in that spot, which I have no issue holding on to him because Brady could play for 3 or 4 more years, and this argument means absolutely nothing because Godwin's still going to be a top flight receiver, and by the time Brady's done, he'll be too old anyways, and you'll want to move on. I have no issue keeping all 5, right? Like we know the importance of depth in dynasty, especially if a team trying to compete. You want as many starters as you can possibly get, which is why you want to be able to have this opportunity to keep all 5 of these guys. If you, like I said, if you're weak at other positions, there's no need to break down your strengths in hopes you can fix a different position. That's why you navigate through the draft. That's why you navigate the rest of your roster. That's why if you're in a win now move, you use draft picks instead of players, right? If we knew what his draft picks were, we can say, why don't you just trade, your first maybe this year and next year and go and try to grab a top flight running back instead of ruining your wide receiver depth.
I think it's funny.
And ruining your chance at that run.
I think it's funny that you called out Godwin's age too, because while he's the old man of the bunch, he's still only 26.
I know, right? I said, both him and Juju are in their prime.
Yeah.
So I want to keep all 5. If it's me, I'm trying to keep all 5, unless they get a god offer for Chase, because he's it's insane what people are paying for.
Those have been known to happen too, and I mean, you still are going to have 3 top 10 wide receivers. I think even if you move Chase.
Yeah.
It's and what you'll get in return, right? No player should be untouchable.
Yeah.
Ever.
Not for
you
the right
always
price.
know what your players are worth.
And we're going to get to that here in a minute.
As you could, it's a great lead into what I did during our draft over the weekend.
Yeah. We're not going to go there first though.
Well, I mean, not now, but
no. We're going to go to me first because yours were more impressive, I think. Yours were bigger. Let's put it that way.
Mine, there's a firework or 2 in there.
All right. So Dan and I both were wheeling and dealing a little bit, Ryan. We were in a rookie startup draft, and so we're going to start off with some of what I did. I inherited an orphan team that was picking 2nd overall on their own finish. That was one of those teams that this is IDP, Superflex, PPR, no tight end premium. And this is one of those situations where there's some pieces, but they're pieces that aren't necessarily going to help me rebuild later. So I'm going to go through, I think the way that I'll do this is I'm going to go through the 3 trades individually, kind of discuss each one and then the totality of it and see if that changes how it looks. So the first move was Travis Kelce. I traded Travis Kelce in a 2023 third for Tyler Lockett, who the plan would be to try to move mid-season or have another package piece on. And the 109, which ended up being Christian Watson. So that trade ends up being Travis Kelce and a third for Tyler Lockett, and then Christian Watson at the 109.
That's not too bad. I mean, because you're not competing this year. And if you're not competing, there's no reason to hold on to Kelce, so you might as well try to get something out of him while he still can, while he's at age 32 right now.
Yeah.
And you don't know when that he's just going to fall off that cliff.
Yeah, and with it being non-tight end premium, that already kind of hurts the value. And I feel like maybe I could have gotten a little more, but the 2 things that were in my inbox when I woke up were that and the next trade, which essentially allowed me to move back 1 spot in the draft and acquire extra third-round pick, Tyler Lockett, Evan Ingram, Kadarius Toney, and another third-round pick for moving back one spot in the draft and giving up Travis Kelce. So, it was really not this move alone. It was this move combined with another move that I was able to make, and I pulled the trigger on them at about the same time to really kind of solidify what I was doing.
So you got many additional pieces out of it.
I did, because what I was able to do was I traded Kelce in a third and added the extra 109, and adding the extra 109 let me move the 108 for, which ended up being Treylon Burks, for Evan Ingram, Kadarius Toney, Rachaad White. And I know Dan in particular is probably going to hate that move.
Yeah, I wasn't. I don't hate it. I see what you were doing with it. I wouldn't have made it if I'm a rebuild team.
So, right. And for me, what I'm looking for here is lottery tickets, because I'm not just a 1-year rebuild team.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't want a bunch of picks stacked in this draft when it's a super flex league, and I know I'm likely not getting a quarterback in this draft. And I need running backs. The defense is actually not in bad shape. And this is a draft where I can really build wide receiver, and I've already picked up Christian Watson. We're still in this draft, by the way. And I've already picked up Christian Watson. So for me, it's like, what I'm trying to do here is give me as many lottery pieces as I can get. Give me as many lottery tickets as I can get that are either guys that I like to take another step that can then be flippable, but are also still young enough to where if I really believe in them, they can actually be part of a rebuild. And that's the type of player I was looking at. Now, Tyler Lockett doesn't fit that mold. Tyler Lockett is purely he can be a safety net and maybe somebody I can move or package into something later on in the year.
That's what you're hoping for with him. You wanted to kind of
Yes.
package him in the middle of the year because he's beyond that prime age of playing. So you're waiting for him to actually break out, and then next thing you know, people are trying to trade away
It's tough because
young players.
he's with Seattle, so like even if he hits that ceiling, there's just so many people down on it.
You just move him as a rental. He basically
Yeah.
replaced Brandon Cooks on my roster. Is the
But
way
if
that
he's
I
doing it
saw it.
consistently. But
Yeah.
if he's
See, I
doing it
think-
consistently, it's going to be easy to get rid of him then because he's
Especially
Yeah.
if you got a
Wide
team that ends up
receiver
with injuries or that needs it to, or you're trying to make something bigger happen and maybe you just need a sweetener.
yeah.
See, I think for me, it's because you want to make this a multi-year deal. I would have We'll talk about the next trade too when you move Brandon Cooks. I would be trying to get 23 picks, not because that's the cool thing to do, but because it makes most sense to what your strategy is. Like,
And I did end up with a couple of them later.
yeah, and for as much as I love Rachaad White, it's so tough because given his age and what the likely outcome of what Tampa Bay should look like in a couple years, you just may miss that his value being now to where what his value could be in about 3 or 4 years. So I think he's the best piece, a part of this deal. To be perfectly honest, because if he hits and you're not ready to compete,
You move
you
him
could
for
offload him for a very hopefully nice chunk of change, especially if Fournette gets hurt for the whole year.
yeah.
You find that Fournette owner and you're like, bring me
Heyo.
23 first and then potentially plus.
So
yeah.
Evan Ingram and Kadarius Toney were research trades for me as part of this deal. They were players that I targeted that I like either because of what they were able to show in limited work, Kadarius Toney, or what they did on a bad offense and are now being moved to have a new opportunity, but still, young enough, especially Ingram at 28 years for a tight end and highly athletic. This is a guy that was 9th in route participation, 3rd in slot snaps, 10th in routes ran. He was 9th in target premium, 5th in cushion, 4th in target separation, 3rd in contested catch, 10th in juke rate. I mean, 10th in drops is the knock on him, but Evan Ingram going to a new team is tied in that has some pretty significant upside. And Kadarius Toney is the only wide receiver on the Giants that showed in the clusterfuck that offense was, that showed any type of efficiency at all as far as yards after catch, juke rate, and so what he was able to do with the ball in his hands. So, those were two target pieces as guys that, I think I could get both in the deal. And, in the case of, are both young enough to where if they do hit, especially with Tony, if Tony hits into, a Tyreek Hill light type of player, not saying he'll be Tyreek Hill, but a Tyreek Hill light type of player, that's something that I can absolutely make good on, and I'm okay with that because I see a scenario where Tony could have a similar value to Treylon Burks. Now, it's a long shot. I'm not saying the odds of it are great. I'm saying that it's in the realm of possibilities.
Sure.
So
you've talked me into liking it a little bit more. I actually like the Evan Ingram move, right? If it was more tight end premium, I think I like it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of room to grow in that Lawrence offense.
Yeah.
A lot of slot options. That's a little concerning depending on where he's going to line up. Maybe he gets the Pitts role and he plays a little outside more.
Yeah.
Like they don't have any
He's big
true outside
enough.
options, right? I think there's a chance that maybe Ingram gets used more in that proper way. And Doug Peterson's had
a lot of success with tight
it's had a
ends.
lot of success with his tight ends in this offense. So I do like that. Maybe it was just I'd like to see you get more, but
I think
sometimes that's based on the league. Sometimes you just can't get as much as you want.
Well, and the reason I knew you'd hate this is because Treylon Burks ended up being the 108, and I know how you feel about Kadarius Toney too. So
it's whatever.
We're gonna play into that in the next two leagues. In the next two, though, as it comes to strategy. So I already kind of told you guys what I'm doing, which is I'm looking for lottery tickets. But also know how people value people. I could tell you how I thought Dan was going to value that trade because of how he felt about two players. These next two trades are 100% purely me knowing that the people I made the trades with value the two players that I traded.
I like these next two trades for you.
Me throwing Brandon Cooks to Ian is somebody who I know likes Brandon Cooks. Meant that because I think for most people, Brandon Cooks for a second was probably going to be, what it was. That's what I was anticipating that would build around. So to get KJ Osborne on top of that and what should be a higher volume offense, who we talked about liking on the show, is a guy that could have some wide receiver 3 type value that is also a younger player. I liked that. That's two pretty good value picks right there.
And I believe I saw a tweet. This Kevin O'Connell Rams offense last year, I think were maybe number 1 in most wide receiver 3 or in most 3 receiver sets. Yeah. Which means Osborne has a chance to creep into that high 70s, 80%, snap range.
Share.
And there's a lot of opportunity for him to have some boom games in there too. He was productive in the absence of Thielen last year. Now, I just don't think that just goes away because he's bad, because Thielen's healthy. I think Osborne has his role, and he should easily be.
And with it being a super flex IDP league, second round picks are inherently worth more. So,
yeah,
that's
actually a pretty good trade there.
Yeah,
I like that one.
And so check this out. Looking at Van Jefferson, right? 64% week 1, 98, 77, 65, 62, 74, 100, 81, 8, 95, 9, 92, 6, 100, 77, 77, 93, 95. You get the idea. His overall snap share was 81.1 last year.
Very good chance that's where Osborne lies in, and he's a flex. He's a weekly flex option with his Vikings offense.
Yep, and then the last trade was so this is more of an IDP thing. We're not really an IDP show, but I will say this: Leighton Vander Esch is a player who's only 25 years old, who started off his career hot, and really tailed off. He was a linebacker 76. I picked the Cowboys fan and said I'll trade him to you for a 5th round pick. It's a guy I should have got. It's a guy I was considering cutting.
Can't say healthy.
Can't stay healthy.
And you can find linebackers like crazy in these leagues.
And it's better to get something for him than just throw him back into the pool for someone else just to pick him up.
Exactly.
So that's a win-win for you either way. And even if the fifth round pick turns into nothing, you still got something out of it.
And
You're going to get players to get moved down because it's the IDP league.
Yep. And it was, again, just it was 100% just knowing that guy's a Cowboys fan who likes LVE. Let's just throw it out there and see. So overall, what that ended up being was Travis Kelce, Brandon Cooks, Leighton Vander Esch, Traylon Burks, and a 2023 third for Tyler Lockett, Christian Watson, Kadarius Toney, Evan Ingram, Rashad White, KJ Osborne, a 2023 second, and a 2023 fifth. Was the overall trade-off there. So my roster, I think the big takeaways there is the roster got younger. I got some younger upside pieces and added some 2023 picks while also picking up a high upside wide receiver in Christian Watson is part of that.
It's a good start in the direction you want to move in, right? And like, even if it may not work in your favor potentially,
I'm expecting
you definitely have some pieces that you can definitely continue to keep moving and keep acquiring.
When I took this team, I saw it as it's going to be a 2 to 3 year rebuild. So,
I was just going to say that. It sounds like you're working out 2 to 3 years right now.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was thinking when I saw this team, was it was going to be a 2 to 3 year rebuild. And that's okay. I'd never taken on an orphan before, so that's exactly what I think the sexiness of an orphan dynasty team is that you get to grab it and kind of play general manager with it a bit. You're inheriting somebody else's work and determining, all right, how do I put my stamp on this and how do I make this more successful? All right. Dan, you got some big ones in here too.
got some fireworks.
The grand finale.
This first one's this one's huge.
So you gave up Chris Godwin, Jonathan Taylor, Baker Mayfield pre-trade, the 2022 104, which ended up being... Who did that end up being?
I think Garrett Wilson.
It was Garrett Wilson, yes. You're right. So you... Yeah, it was Garrett Wilson. I got it further down. So yeah, you give up Chris Godwin, Jonathan Taylor, Baker Mayfield, and Garrett Wilson for Travis Etienne, Rashad Bateman, Breece Hall, and a 2023 third.
And a 23 first as well.
The 23...
You got 23 first out of it too?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Wait, you got a 23 first out of that?
Should have.
Let me go look. I could have read it wrong.
Yeah. I got a 23 first as well. So Godwin, JT, Baker in the 104 for ETN, Hall, Bateman, the 112, 23 first, and a 23 third. So
I did miss that.
Me and Ian went back and forth on this. This started off with Ian wanting to trade, for the 104 to, I think it was a small deal to me going, no, we're going to have some fucking fun. He's also very stoned, which is also very fun to do. And I threw I'm trying to retool this roster, right? I don't have any quarterbacks. My two quarterbacks right now is Geno Smith and Jameis Winston. This trade is me looking at potentially competing for next year, but ideally probably in 2 years out. So my running back choices at this point is based around that. Breece Hall should be in his third year by that point. Travis Etienne got off to his slow start, but he has a fifth-year option. Will also be in his third year. Be in his fourth year.
You're expecting Bateman, the Ravens, to get more pass happy, and Bateman to...
Just Bateman being his own version of A.J. Brown, right? Yeah. I'm expecting that upside... and me being able to get enough first round picks for next year to be able to grab a couple quarterbacks to bait this run. I also picked a pick a lot in this draft. If I could almost piece together a competitive run this year, having two startable running backs. I also have Miles Sanders behind them. I have my wide receiver core is fairly strong. Now when you add in Bateman alongside a DJ Moore. Maybe it's not as strong as I thought it was. But got some workable pieces there. I don't expect to compete this year, but I'm going to be competitive in weeks. Just having this many running backs, and I still have a lot of movable pieces if I really want to tear it down.
Yeah.
Guys like Miles Sanders, DJ Moore. If I want to get that crazy, I'm not trying to remove the players that are going to be core pieces on my team in a couple of years. And that's the biggest thing when you look at a rebuild is you got to identify who you want as your target, as your main core when you're ready to compete, and you ideally don't want to move them.
Yeah, it's exactly what I did. The flip side of that, what you did keeping DJ Moore is kind of the flip side of what you did by moving Chris Godwin at 26, who's going to be entering the end of his prime by the time that's over. Or Jonathan Taylor, who in 3 years, he could still be really good, but the upside of Breece Hall probably, at that point in time, either equals that or surpasses it is what you're betting on. And, for me, it was moving Travis Kelce and moving Brandon Cooks, who are guys that I know are still very usable pieces right now that I would love to have on my roster if I was competing right now, that aren't going to be by the time I get to that point. So let's get them in the hands at a price to somebody that's going to use them. Because you have to identify what's tradable, what's value, what are you willing to break up with, and what do you need to keep as your core pieces. I think what you did here on paper, Breece Hall for Jonathan Taylor, I think a lot of people would agree that that's just breaking this down the way that we normally would. Breece Hall for Jonathan Taylor, I think a lot of people would agree that's a good move. Chris Godwin for Rashad Bateman, that's a little bit of a bet there. Then I think Baker Mayfield probably aligns with the 2023 third at that point in time because you just really didn't know. But that's also picked up a little bit by getting that 2023 first back. Now, you did have the 104 in there as well, which became Garrett Wilson. And ETN. I mean, this is one that on paper, I think it's a bit of a gamble because I don't think it's bad. I think you're betting on players that you like. I know you like ETN. You're betting on him coming in and being able to produce the way he was drafted to produce. I know you like Bateman. You're betting on Bateman hitting that A.J. Brown type of upside. And if they do, particularly with that extra 2023 first thrown in there, I'm not worried about Breece Hall. I think that you end up in a really, really good spot here. That 112 you later traded away. We'll get to that in a minute. But giving you that piece also helped you acquire something else. So I think overall, this trade actually is better than it looks on paper, knowing what you're doing, knowing how you feel about ETN and Bateman, and knowing what you're betting on. I think there is a little bit of betting here, but there's a little bit of betting in every trade. You're trying to look into the future, especially when you're a rebuilding team, and you're playing that upside game. And it's no different than what I was playing with, Kadarius Toney or Rashad White. Yep. You're playing the upside game a little bit, and you're betting on people you believe in to hit and trusting your scouting.
Yeah, like this is just it's a little less players and a lot more of the draft currency and giving me the flexibility, just given where my team is. Mm-hmm. I did try. I did look at trying to get a quarterback.
Yeah,
I did look at going. You know what? I can be set up for next year while also having.
I didn't want to get a quarterback early this year.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying to draft one.
You're saying trade for one?
Yeah, I'm saying I looked at trading before I made my next trade, which we'll talk about. I looked at quarterback to see if I can try to pry away one of these younger quarterbacks that maybe people have been soured on and take that shot. But if you look at the quarterbacks across the roster on these teams, it's just there's just still too much parity. And there's no team. There's maybe one team that has an overabundance of quarterbacks. Otherwise, everyone's pretty scattered.
And that's the hard part about Superflex is that, especially Superflex Dynasty, is that when you get quarterbacks, people are holding on to them. You're going to have to give up a haul to get a quarterback. You're better off trying to get yourself in a position to draft one because, quite honestly, when they're spread out like that, nobody really has the surplus to trade from. So
yeah, Ryan, what is your thoughts on this? On my first trade here.
I like it. And then like Hopper was saying too about your 104, and I can see trading the 104, and I think you actually got a good deal for the 104 by getting Travis Etienne and the 23 first out of it, because that's how I look at that part of like everything that Hopper said was like nailed it until we hit that 104. But I see that 104 because I look at Etienne still as last year at that 102. So basically, you got like a 102 plus whatever first next year for your 104. I actually like the whole trades all in general.
Oh, cool. And what's nice is that because of how I view the 104 and the range of players, like there's not like my tiers from after Brees Hall from the 102 to a mid to late first is pretty much the same.
Yeah, 102 like 108 is almost like basically the same type of player you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say this just from the other side, from Ian's perspective as well. Getting Godwin, Jonathan Taylor in a super flex league, getting somebody that's got a good chance to be a starting quarterback and try to remake themselves, and Garrett Wilson out of this, who has potential to be very, very good in this league. He did a pretty good job in this one as well. I think this is a trade that works out both ways.
This is why this is like, even if you're just trying to it's always good to make the trades look balanced. I use trade calculators all the time. I want to know where the value lies on both sides. So I'm not trying to be our buddy Sean and trying to win every single trade. No. That is not my goal. My goal is to make my team better. Mm-hmm. From now and into the future, mainly because if I want to construct this team more so in the future, but like you don't want to destroy bridges, burn bridges by making or offering these super lopsided trades. You got to try to be fair. Otherwise, it's going to make for bad play throughout.
I used a trade calculator to put together that 108 for Ingram, Tony, and White trade and try to dial that in and figure out what pieces I wanted. I mean, It helps to know if you're way far off.
Yeah,
they're never gospel, but it helps you to know if you're super far off.
It's a good reference point to use. Give you an idea of what you're looking to get.
And if you dunk on people for using calculators, fuck you. Like, this is probably why you're not very successful in Dynasty. It's because you're betting on yourself way too much to be right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's I'm telling you from a veteran Dynasty player, don't be super high on yourself. We are often more wrong than we're right, especially we're more wrong on the players we're trying to be right on.
All using a calculator does is it's like asking a friend.
An unbiased friend.
An unbiased friend that usually has a numerical value associated to it. It's done by some formula, I'm sure, not just arbitrarily. Okay, your other trade then. And I like this because it daisy-chained. And it's another thing to note on both Dan's set of trades and my set of trades is that my first two trades that I read off played off of each other. And both of your trades played off of each other. There's strategy here that's going into play because it's not just a one and done. So your second trade was to move Jacoby Myers, the 111, which ended up being Chris Olave, and the 112, which ended up being Malik Willis, for Michael Pittman and Kyle Hamilton.
I love this. I love this trade. I was so happy when he accepted.
You like Pittman a lot.
I do. I again, just based on how when I'm trying to compete, and I felt a little indifferent when I made it. When I saw the players he took, I felt a lot better.
Yeah,
what did he take?
He took Olave and Malik Willis. So
where did Desmond Ridder go there?
I
got Ridder.
You took him in the third round, right?
Third, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I took
Ridder. I'd rather have Ridder over Malik Willis right now.
Willis, 112 for Willis.
Sorry, I took Ridder early second, I think.
Early second, that's right. That's right. You're right. You took him early second.
And that was my goal, is that I wanted Willis at early second because I figured Ridder would go ahead of him. But if he didn't, then I was fine with Ridder too. That's why I didn't take a quarterback with that 109. So, anyway. Don't like this one quite as much. And it's not anything really to do with Pittman so much as it is that quarterback carousel that the Colts seem to have. And the fact that there's a certain amount of volume that I want to see out of Pittman. And with Olave, you got to figure that the Saints are going to be in a position to maybe even get his college quarterback. You know.
Oh, CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, if this season goes shitty for them, which by all accounts it could,
Didn't the Saints trade away their pick though, their first round?
Did
to,
they? They might have.
Philadelphia. I think they traded to Philadelphia.
No, that was the Saints.
That's what I'm talking about. Is this?
Yeah,
Saints.
I'm sorry. I thought you were
Yeah,
talking
Chris Olave.
about Pittman.
Yeah,
And
I don't
Colts.
think
think
the
they
Saints
have
have a
one.
first round this year.
They don't have a first round next year.
Until they trade
They
Michael
went up.
Thomas.
I don't think they're getting a first for Michael Thomas. I mean,
They might.
maybe we've seen dumber moves happen. So
Wide receiver
Yeah.
values through the roof. In any event, I don't know. Jacoby Myers definitely covers the floor part of this for Pittman. I think Olave covers the upside. And in a super flex league, Malik Willis is the wild card. Hamilton's a defensive back. I don't take a lot of stock in defensive backs in IDP just because.
based on settings, you
Yeah.
got to look to see how they're scoring interceptions, pass breakups. Thankfully,
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton should play like a hybrid. I
More
hope he
safety.
plays in the box
Safety
a little
in
bit
the
more.
box. Yeah.
That's the hope. Like maybe becomes his own version of Jeremy Chin, but it's me just building for the future. And like if you want to look at it from not even a player's sake, trading 2 firsts and Jacoby Myers for Pittman and a second round pick. That's how I view this process. The players help me feel
See,
better.
I still don't know. See,
I felt
Look at-
more I felt more even when there was no players taken. Like this deal, I'm paying a little up for Pittman. Right, you're going to pay up for players you like, and to get out of to lose some draft picks in a weak draft class that I don't particularly like for a player that was hyper productive and was very, very efficient last year with Carson Wentz. So you know he can play with bad quarterback play. And then on top, now you get Matt Ryan, who, as you just mentioned, I agree there is an unknown with Pittman, but if the Colts also struggle, he could get a quarterback upgrade within a year or two. I'm betting on talent more so than I am on the immediate future.
So the thing
of
with
this.
betting on talent, it comes down to for me is, am I sure that Chris Olave doesn't end up being a better NFL talent than Michael Pittman?
Pittman's proven it at least.
Yeah,
Olave, you're betting on short term, which he should have short term, because the Saints are also probably in a, as you
they're in
mentioned,
a clusterfuck of a situation, but
yeah.
in a
They may not
rebuild, you're
improve
also
for
betting
few
a bit
years.
on long term. And the thing with Pittman is, he's shown floor. He has shown floor. I'm not taking that away, and I think that's why, Myers Plus covers that floor that he's shown. It's the upside, and when we look at this 3 years from now, is Michael Pittman a better wide receiver than Chris Olave? And I think you could argue it both ways. And is Malik Willis a commodity that you're after in Superflex? And I think
That was
a
a
lot of
reach
people
by
think
him.
that he could be. That was a
Yeah.
reach by him. I agree.
That was a bad pick. I'll just again, it makes it. I think it makes the trade sound more balanced when you use the players, which we can at this point because
We know who they are.
All the picks have been
It's
taken.
Myers, Olave, and Willis for Pittman and Hamilton. And the thing with Willis, though, is that if he hits on the raw upside a lot of people expect him to have, it's Trey Lance all over again. Then
Horrible draft cap with far worse draft cap.
far worse draft capital, sure, but the talent a lot of people are expecting. I think this one could flip upside down worse than the other
yeah.
one. But again, you like Pittman, you believe in big upside. I believe in more
We'll see Myers hurt,
floor plus. I believe in
but
yeah. Myers doesn't have any upside. We know that. He's all
he's a
floor.
2 disguised as a 1. Great for redraft, right?
Oh yeah.
But
Well, no scoring either. So he's
he's so
He had a
unlucky.
touchdown.
He's so unlucky.
he did have a touchdown finally. No scoring. Pittman, I think. I'm trying to figure out where I think his upside is.
So I'll say this, right? Player
Keenan Allen, if he
profiler-
gets a quarterback.
no, because he plays more outside and more vertically.
Well,
I think I'm looking at
Production.
I think,
I'm not looking at the type of player. I'm looking at it from a productivity standpoint.
I think Allen Robinson, maybe Alshon Jeffrey.
See, I was trying to
Similar
give you a comparison
styles.
that I like. I'm not looking at styles. I was looking at productivity.
Well, I mean, fine. Then Mike Williams, better than Mike Williams? Mike Williams from last year?
You were just straight striking out on players that I like.
You don't have. I mean,
I actually like
can't
Alshon.
comp.
I liked Alshon
There's
Jeffrey.
no way. There's no way that I can comp Pittman to Allen. They completely different roles of receiver. I know you're doing it from a production standpoint,
statistically,
sure, but they play like Pittman. Arguably, would have higher upside because he plays on the outside.
Would he?
Yeah, because he should.
Just because he plays outside?
Slot receivers don't have the same type of upside as generally it's outside. Historically,
Cooper
upside.
Kupp would like a conversation with you.
Cooper Kupp is a fucking unicorn. You fucking know that.
Wes
And
Welker
Justin Jefferson.
Wes Welker would like to talk. Justin Jefferson, Michael Thomas from a couple years ago, Keenan Allen for his whole career. I got a list of guys that want to have a conversation with you about that.
That's fine. And it's just a few guys. So
It's a party.
historically, but anyways, it's what his success.
I think
were.
Pittman separates better and has better hands than Allen Robinson. Just let the record show, and I don't think he relies as much on contested catch as Alshon Jeffrey.
No, he
does.
was great last year. I mean, so again, as I was saying, a player profiler went back and they went through all almost every player's routes.
Ooh, Larry
right?
Fitzgerald just called.
Larry Fitzgerald, he didn't play in this slot until the end of his career. Maybe Pittman goes that route. I doubt it. Maybe. So Pittman was top 5 in total routes win and routes win rates. Like the dude he wins. And you're buying into his efficiency and hoping that the production.
Right. So my player comps
match.
on guys that win routes are typically slot receivers because slot receivers are normally the guys that win routes.
But he's doing this on
normally
the
not the
outside.
outside
This is so
guys.
fun.
That
It's like Justin
that
Jefferson
win all
without
the
slot
time.
snaps. I love it. Ryan, sorry, you're supposed to give more of your thoughts and then to just hear Hopper and I.
No,
You know,
I
to
enjoy
the
listening.
win.
to
So
you
what
and
are your
Hopper go
thoughts?
at it.
What is your thoughts on this second deal? Are you in the same boat as Hopper in this, or do you like it a little more for me?
I like it a little bit more for you. I mean, I'm a Michael Pittman Jr. fan because I can see him actually producing low-end wide receiver numbers with an upgrade at quarterback with Matt Ryan. So I actually do like that for you.
At least he has Matt Ryan this year,
Yeah.
and maybe 2 years. We'll see.
And then like if they get like say like Julio Jones or something goes there, I mean, does that make Pittman better? You know, he could actually be more efficient because he could actually start pulling defenses toward Julio still, and have that Matt Ryan connection.
I mean, at least he has Alec Pierce and
Hold on.
Harris Campbell.
Hold on,
pulling
Dan.
targets whenever-
Dan, I
Yes.
think the phone's ringing. Hold up, it's a
Who
call
is
from
it? Who is it?
It's a call from Miami 3 years ago. Oh, what's up, Jarvis?
Devonta Parker?
What's up, Jarvis?
Slot receivers are far more productive in today's NFL. Thank fucking God. We need to get rid of the true alpha style and breathe into the new era. Fuck, maybe Pittman somehow plays more in the slot, right? He had a 12.2% slot snap share rate last year. Maybe that increases. I don't know. Either way.
I'm not advocating for him to play the slot. I'm just saying the production comparison, just because I compared a slot receiver to an outside guy, because when I think of people that can win routes, it's slot receivers. And when I think of productivity that's going to come from not being explosive but from winning routes, it's mostly slot receivers that come to mind.
It's generally touchdown up. Generally touchdown upside is really the only argument. So I mean, I was wrong in that sense where they can be productive. Generally, it's a touchdown upside.
Ooh, conference call. Tyler Lockett and Doug Baldwin, both on the phone from Seattle.
They were productive.
And they both played the
And
slot.
Golden Tate, productive.
Golden Tate.
There's a long line of production slot receivers. Again, I should have been more specific with the argument of touchdown upside.
You got me going.
All right. I guess do you want to talk about the trade as a whole? I mean, I feel like
Yeah, I want to talk about the trade as a whole. Of course I do. So your overall, in total, keep me honest if I missed anything. You got rid of Chris Godwin, Jonathan Taylor, Jacoby Myers, Baker Mayfield, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Malik Willis to add, Travis Etienne, Rashad Bateman, Breece Hall, Michael Pittman, Kyle Hamilton, 2023 third and a 2023 first.
I love that 2023 first.
Yeah.
They're so good. I made it a mandatory deal in my trade with Ian. I wanted both of his 23 first, but he wasn't having it.
There's a lot of name cachet that went out the door there. I'm just saying.
It was
For
such
a lot of upside that could have a lot of name cachet in a year or two.
it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun working this deal out with Ian.
I mean, a lot of established name cachet that went out the door there. But
Yeah.
and a couple high end dart throws too. But same time, could easily flip around on that. And you got your guys. I think that's the most important thing is you knew the players that you wanted to bring in.
Well, especially if that 2023 first is like one of the top 5 picks. And
It
you're
won't
saying,
be.
you need it won't be.
It's not Ian's. It's not Ian's 23 first.
Whose was it?
It's Corey's.
I haven't looked at Corey's team. Hold on.
Her team is loaded with aging players. It's like, I believe she made the playoffs last year. Running backs she has Fournette. Aging roster. Brady. She got Wilson from me. I think I forgot
Brady,
what the deal
Clyde,
was.
Kareem Hunt, Robert Woods, Galladay, Evans, Gronk, who's retired. Fournette, Russell Wilson being the quarterbacks are kind of stacked.
It's boom. I'm looking at a roster, not a whole lot of depth. So it's very much a glass ceiling team where a couple injuries could.
You could end up in the top. You're probably going to be in that 4 to 6 range, probably.
I pinned me from like 3 to 9. Her just making the playoffs, maybe wins a game, probably not.
I'm racing to the bottom
because she has it's a super glass ceiling team, right?
Yeah.
She has a Brady Evans stack, which is her running backs are probably what's going to potentially break it for make or break it for with Clyde, Hunt, and Fournette.
Maybe that's where I can trade J.K. Dobbins too.
Good. Do you have Dobbins?
I do have Dobbins.
Oh yeah.
Never mind. She
doesn't have any picks
no
though.
picks.
She moved. She's our Jordan in my home league.
Has no picks whatsoever.
She has no first round picks that we can even trade for. 23 first.
In case you're
and
interested,
24
my
first.
tradable pieces that I have left right now are Hunter Renfrow, Russell Gage, which you already know what I'm planning to do with him.
Yes, you gotta move him.
Yeah. I have McCorkle, which isn't bad. I have McCorkle and Derek Carr. Carr could be a guy I look to move. McCorkle's probably
You gotta
locked in
keep
as a QB2
McCorkle.
for a while. Yeah. He's probably locked in as a 2 for a bit. Edwards and Dobbins. And then and then Calvin Ridley, which is a total what the hell do you do with him?
Oh my God, he's so hard to
You
figure out
have
to do
fun
it.
players you can move around with. Like the Osborne move I like because I don't believe in Osborne as a long-term answer. But man, if he catches fire this year, even has a streak,
Yeah, I can
you
move
can
him.
offload him.
I got
for-
Tim Patrick sitting there. That's the same thing.
You got Patrick. You got Jamison Crowder, who I believe is going to outproduce Gabe Davis.
There's a fun
Oh.
fact there. When I was looking to make more moves and I was pinpointing people that I know believe in players to make moves with, I had pinpointed you with Jamison Crowder.
it wouldn't have happened. It just
Well, that's why I
fit my
didn't,
team
because
build.
then I looked at your roster and saw that it didn't fit your team. I was like, if he's competing, this is a move that I'm making. And then I saw that you probably weren't, and totally took me out of that mindset.
Yeah, Gage, if he has a pop up, which he should at some point to begin the season. Hunter Renfrow, if he can snag targets away, from Adams, which I believe he should.
You know that I'm holding Renfrow.
I know. I'm
At least
saying
for-
from an unbiased looking viewpoint, because
At least for
Third-
a year.
yeah, I know. Third and Renfrow has a shot, but you still got moves you can make. Like even on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, maybe I'll draft Khalil Shakir, and then I won't feel as attached to Hunter Renfrow.
And I don't know what the world's gonna do when Khalil Shakir outperforms Gabe Davis.
Well, that ain't gonna happen because he's all the combination of Khalil Shakir,
It's not
Isaiah
gonna
McKenzie,
happen.
and Jamison Crowder might outperform Gabe Davis.
No, I can see
But-
Crowder outperforming him. by himself. But that's a conversation for a different day.
That's a conversation for training camp battles. Which,
That's a conversation.
Ooh, there we go.
Thankfully, they both play separate positions. Not separate positions. Separate roles at wide
we'll argue about
receivers.
target volume too. That's coming up here, if not next week, the week after, because training camps start end of the month. We're already there.
We're what, 2 weeks out, I think, from
Yeah.
from the Hall of Fame teams reporting potentially.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so close.
Yep.
The fun begins.
Indeed, it
Speculation
does.
starts. And overdrafting is going to be insane.
Ryan, did you make any trades that you want to talk about?
No,
I don't want you to feel left out. I don't like if you made trades that you want to hear our thoughts on. I don't want you to feel left out.
I haven't made any trades, but I've been looking at one of my teams because I keep forgetting about it because it's one of my free leagues. So
Free leagues.
I know. That's why I'm like, oh yeah.
There's only one free league that's worth it. Scott Fishbowl.
Still
Right.
waiting on Nick to set a draft for.
He brought that up to me when I talked to him last. He's like, I should probably set a draft date for this. I'm like, yeah, we're
Maybe.
getting a little late into rookie draft season, but
That's
you should
what I was
probably
going to
do
ask.
that.
That was going to be the next question after I asked you guys this question was, you guys talk to Nick at all about
Yeah.
getting a
I'll
rookie
see him.
draft going?
I talk to him a lot.
You'll see
I'll
him,
ask him
you'll
about it
see
on
him
Sunday.
Saturday, right, or Sunday.
I'll see him Sunday.
Okay.
So like
I'll
right
ask him
now,
again.
I have a trade offer of Daniel Jones. I would
Just Daniel Jones.
I would trade Daniel Jones away. It's a super
Okay.
flex. My
Okay.
only other quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, and I'd get a 2023 second for it.
Ooh, I'd hold. I actually like Jones. Maybe having some boom next year, this
That's
upcoming
what I was
season
thinking.
with Dabble, and maybe I'd say move him afterwards because I don't think he's going to be in the team. He might play for another year. I try to get a first from him though. My goal would be to try to get a first.
Yeah, 'cause that's what I was thinking. Is like if
Just
he starts
find some
doing something
desperate
this year,
team.
and
Yeah,
my team starts kind of going downhill, it's like okay, I got to move him because there's something I'm going to do now.
I like what the other team's doing. Trying to get a guy with some I don't like Daniel Jones, but I like Dabble to be able to find a way to find production from him this year. And he doesn't have the worst receiving core in football. Galladay, Tony. I think
Right.
Shepard's still there, maybe.
And this one's an easy no. This guy
Barkley.
wants 223rd first for me. So he wants my 20. I have multiple 2023 first next year.
Okay.
He wants two of them for
Oh,
Matt
God.
Ryan and T.J. Hawkinson.
What?
What?
Yeah,
No.
As a super flex?
yeah.
Jesus Christ. You should just flame it. No, don't flame him. That's
It
rude.
was 1 year of Matt Ryan.
That's
That's-
so bad.
That's why I'm not saying their name. I'm not saying anything about them. They're a good guy.
Wait, it's like is it somebody that is on Twitter and does stuff, or is it just some rando?
Just some rando. I don't.
Okay.
No, don't say their
Yeah, but
name. Just put out
don't
their,
say the name.
Just say their Twitter handle.
Yes, that is a definition of a terrible trade offer. Like what you should not do. You should not come after with some lowball offer, as
Who
my
would
old
after?
as my old boss would say from back in the day. I'm just trying to show you who I like and who I want. I'm like, then offer me a fair fucking deal to start with, you asshole.
Is that Lane?
No. This is back in my Minnesota days.
Not to call Lane out, but
This is Danny's brother.
got it.
Yeah.
Makes
Horrible
sense.
trade partner.
Makes sense.
Horrible. He would never make trades because he was so afraid to lose them. Like he was deathly afraid. So his offers were just like all of my starters for his bench just to show who he likes. No, don't do that out there. Be fair in your first deals. Smart.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it should at least be a starting point, even if there's a counter there.
My beer field. I'm definitely gonna do some moves in this year. It
But
doesn't look good.
That league is just so. I'm just so concerned.
I want a
don't
rookie
know-
draft
I don't
there
know where
right
I
now.
want to go.
I don't even know that I can trade there. I don't think I have anything. I got Drew Lock.
My quarterbacks are a thing there. Hurts, Mayfield, and Fields. And Brissett, I have 4 starting quarterbacks, I think, on their roster right now in a 16-team league.
I have Zach
Dynasty.
Wilson.
Jesus.
I have 4 startable quarterbacks. That's startable, but 4. No, I'm sorry. I don't have Brissett. I have
Ooh,
Tyrod Taylor.
I have
Trubisky too. Still.
Mac
That's what I
Jones
have.
and Drew Lock and I still have. Jesus. All right, you ready for this who's who of quarterbacks?
This team is so bad.
You ready for this who's who of quarterbacks after Mac Jones here?
Let's do it.
Drew Lock,
Okay.
Taylor Heineke,
Oh.
Blake
What
Bortles.
do you got from me?
Blake Bortles, Andy Dalton, Mike White, Chad Kelly,
It's all your favorite hits.
Kellen Mond,
Literally hits.
Gardner Minshew,
It's Hopper's greatest hits.
CJ Beathard.
Well, besides him.
Besides him,
This is all your favorite. That's amazing. That is the most Hopper quarterback core. Besides McCorkle, because
the problem
he was
is, and
pretty
you may
cheap.
be sitting here thinking, why the hell are you holding on to Blake Bortles, Chad Kelly, and Mike White and CJ Beathard? And the reason is there's literally nobody on the waiver wire to pick up. I have no reason to not hold those roster spots.
Nick has this league is deep bench and 16 team leagues, 2 tight end, premium, super flex. Like I'm in a similar draft, and it's which I'm up in. It's insane. Like good luck getting more than 2 starters, and some teams won't even have one.
We have 17 bench spots.
Yeah, I think when Nick made it, he was a little aggressive. I will say that little aggressive.
But I don't ever want it to change.
No, it's fun. No, it's fun.
It's
I
so
love
deep. Yeah, it's a good kind of deep. You know.
So, Chris, do you have any picks this year at all, or no?
Oh yeah, in that league,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I've
What picks do you
got
hold?
the 108, the 308, the 408.
Oh, fun.
How am I
Nah, I'm
picking? How the hell am I picking that low?
I have 2 firsts. The
That's
101
how
and the
bad this
116.
league is. You heard my
You're the
quarterback core?
116?
I'm picking that low. I got fucking Jake Kumaro in a starting wide receiver spot. And I'm picking 8th.
It's one of those like you want to tear it down, but it's gonna take you're like in a 3 or 4 year rebuild.
Jesus. Demarius Thomas is still on my roster.
Oh, rip.
Rest in peace. I actually think I did that and started him when he... Actually, I know why that's a thing. I did
Yeah.
that and started him when he died.
Yeah.
Is an honorary thing because I was not competing for anything.
Oh, my favorite trade
Ooh.
partner, though. I keep seeing Drew's name on here on all my trades.
But you know who I do have on my roster that's about to be a hell of a trade piece? Cameron motherfucking Brait.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Go get that second round pick. Go get
I
that
got
second round value.
Last year I traded Travis Kelce for 2 firsts, and I still have Dalton Schultz on my team.
Actually, that's how. I've got Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, George Kittle, and Chris Godwin's sitting on my IR. That's what it was. I literally didn't have enough players to start. That's why I ended up starting Demarius Thomas. I could
That's
not
awesome.
field anybody that was going to play because of all the injuries.
My team's like tight end heavy, even though it's not tight end heavy.
All right, I've had the outro graphic up for a bit. Thanks for tuning in. At Beerfield, at Hopia, at Beerfield Hop, at Beerfield Thury, at Ryan Minor _FFB, at FF Faceoff, we'll talk to you next week. Anybody was still listening after that rambling at the end, thank you.